Hi, I'm John Griesbach with Diamond H2O. Today I want to just go through a few items in regards to the Freedom Water Softener. First, when you receive your Freedom Water Softener, you're going to have a few components. You'll have your second tank, which includes the adapter. You're going to have your primary tank, which includes your main valve. The main valve has your pre-built-on bypass. Keep in mind your second tank, when looking at the system from the front, always goes on the left. There also is labeled on the system, it says connect to second tank. There's some yellow tape on the side. Just be sure to always connect that to the second tank. Other items that come with it, zip tied to the bottom of your bypass are your adapters. Depending on what you order, you may get the brass sweat adapters, threaded adapters, John Guest adapters. They're all available for purchase with the system. All right, also included with the system, you've got a bypass. If you look, the bypasses are red arrows. When the arrows are pointing in a direction, that's the direction of the flow. So if this arrow is pointing at the valve, it's flowing into the valve. Your inlet is closest to the front of the unit. Your outlet is closest to the rear of the system. Be sure not to plumb it in backwards, as that can cause a number of different problems. Also, on the top of your valve, I got a tip forward. You can see here, or slightly see here, your drain line gets attached to the front drain elbow. There is a compression nut on that drain elbow. That compression nut is good for things like CPVC, half-inch CPVC, or half-inch PEX. If you take this nut off, it's 3/4 inch male pipe thread. So you can use whatever is most convenient for you. Also, you will see there's an elbow here. It's a push lock elbow. That is for your brine line. So that would then go to your brine line. There's one brine line that goes to this system that could ultimately feeds both tanks. So, now that we've identified some of the main components, you can go ahead, attach your system, go ahead and plumb your system in. Once your system is plumbed in, what you're going to want to do is power your system up, as this one already is. Once it's powered up, you're going to want to run through the programming. Now, there's a couple different levels of programming that are available with the system, or that are in the system. You have your in-depth programming. Keep in mind your in-depth programming should come factory programmed from Diamond, as long as you're ordering a completed system. If you're ordering a valve only as a retrofit, you may have to go through this programming to ensure that everything is set up for the system that you're retrofitting. Also, if you ever wanted to change anything like backwash time or any of the parameters, you can go ahead and jump into this in-depth programming and make all your changes. So to start, what we're going to do is we're going to press and hold the next and the down button. As you've seen there, I pressed one button before the other. It wasn't allowing me in. I guess it's a good example. Sometimes you just need to restart and just let go, and then press and hold the next and the down button again. Just press and hold them in until it says set softening. Now, when you get to the set softening screen, this is actually the first level of master programming. However, to just verify you have the right valve and that your core programming is correct, we're going to dive into the secondary programming, which is really the meat and potatoes of which valve is selected and sizing. So once it says set softening, you release the next and the down button, then press them again. What comes up with the Twin Freedom is 1.0 T. Looks a lot like an R, however it's 1.0 T for a 1-inch twin. That is correct. If for any reason you ever see and it says 1.0 or any other number with this Twin Freedom setup, That would be incorrect. It's not going to function properly. It'll probably give you some errors. So what you want to make sure is that you are in 1.0 T. Hit next. It says DP off. This is your pressure differential switch. Can be utilized for multiple reasons, but DP off is correct. Secondary here, this is going to be your pre-rinse. Ultimately, before the second tank comes online, you can turn a pre-rinse on. This helps to eliminate any regenerate heal. A lot of times if you're dealing with a lot of iron or tannins, what you like to do is have a pre-rinse to make sure that you're not bleeding any iron through from the tank that was freshly regenerated and maybe had a little bit of that iron sitting in the bottom just after regeneration. It's pretty common to have that, so we like to put a pre-rinse on. If you're going to do that, it just says pre, then you put 1, 2, 3. Ultimately, that's just your minutes of pre-rinse. You know, you can go with however long you want. In most cases, you won't be going beyond 1 or 2 minutes. So in this case, I'm going to leave it at 2 minutes. Press next, and you're done. All right, very simple on this twin. Most of it, once you select that 1.0 T, really takes control and limits the options of programming to be very specific to this unit. Next, we're going to go into that primary level of programming. So we'll press and hold next and down again. It says set softening. This is where you can select either softening or filtering. Again, this is a water softener. We're going to set it as a softener, so softening is correct. Hit next, and it says down brine or DN brine. This is so you can select the direction of the brining, whether it's upflow or downflow. In most cases, you're going to be downflow. Next option is post fill. You're selecting when the brine tank will be filled. Will it be before the unit goes into regeneration, or will it be at the end of regeneration? Again, in most cases, we like to do a post fill, so that way you, at any given point, you can send your system into regeneration and have an adequate brine solution made up already. So we're going to hit next. Here it says 1, number 8 minutes, and it actually says backwash on the bottom as well. So your cycle number 1, which is backwash, and it's set for 8 minutes. Go ahead and hit next. It says cycle 2, 60 minutes, DN brine. So it's 60 minutes of downflow brining. Keep in mind that your brine cycle is also your slow rinse cycle. So take that into consideration when setting your timing. In most cases, you're going to be looking at about 60 minutes. Go ahead and hit next, and it says number 3, so cycle number 3, 2 minutes, and then it says backwash again. This is your second backwash. This cycle is really for reclassification of the bed. So ultimately, making sure the resin that has been regenerated a little bit, maybe to a higher extent on the top than the bottom, gets reclassified, stirred back up. That way you get consistent soft water, consistent quality through the whole cycle, the whole run of the system before regeneration. Go ahead and hit next. This is cycle 4. It says 6 minutes, and this is your rinse cycle. So this is fast rinse. Ultimately, it's giving you service flow or service cycle type setup to the drain. So this is a great cycle for any service technician. If you're ever wanting to check the quality of the system or see if your system's working properly, but you're getting hard water downstream and you're suspecting a bypass, put it into fast rinse, let the rinsed water run for a little bit, and test the water at the drain, and this water should be soft. Ultimately, it's a settling rinse, making sure we purge out any of that last bit of sodium chloride that may be left after regeneration. Go ahead and hit next. This is where you select your how much salt you use, the regenerant amount. So cycle 5, this says here 15, and it says pounds at the top. So you're selecting how many pounds per regeneration. Okay, depending on the size unit that you have, you'll select your poundage. Hit next. This is where you're selecting your capacity of your system. Okay, system here you're looking at is a 45,000 grain water softener. However, depending on your efficiency level and how much salt, you're going to set your capacity here. Next it says auto. This is where auto calculates. You can have it work a few different ways. You can tell how many gallons to regenerate after, or you can say auto. If you put it on auto, it's going to calculate based on your capacity and your hardness, how many gallons you get between regenerations. One thing to keep in mind with this system here is taking into consideration the fact that it does use soft water to regenerate. Because of that, you want to take into consideration the size of the unit, the size of your backwash flow control, and make sure you minus out for any regenerate water. Go ahead and hit next. This is where we select how it regenerates. In this system, you have the option of going normal or on zero. In the case of most twins, you would like them to go on zero. That way they're not delaying till 2 a.m. or whatever you're programming. On zero allows it to go off immediately. That way you have uninterrupted soft water and you can maximize your efficiency of the system. Go ahead and hit next. It says relay off. This is where you could have a programmable relay output, which again could be used for anything from an alarm light saying I'm in regeneration to firing a chemical feed pump. Really the options are endless for that. Go ahead and hit next. And you're back to your main screen. All right, now the next thing that you're going to want to do, if you've just installed the system, you purchased it as a completed system, and you're looking to just get into the installer displays, which include your hardness setting. It includes your day override if you choose to have a day override and regenerate based on a number of days if it doesn't go off based on the meter. And it allows you to see your time of regeneration. So let's go ahead and jump in there. To do that, you press and hold the next and the up arrow. It says hardness across the top and says 15. This is where you would change your hardness concentration using the up or down arrow. We can go ahead and just select 15, hit next, and it says day override off, or regen day off. So ultimately this is your day override. This is where you can select anywhere from 1 to 28 days. All right, we're going to leave this off as typically don't set a day override unless you have high iron content. If you have a high iron content, you may want to set your day override at 7 days just to make sure that it's regenerating regularly. Go ahead and hit next. It says on zero. Again, in the master programming, we did program this on zero. If you did select normal, this is where you would be choosing your time of regeneration. Go ahead and hit next, and now we're back to the main display. On the main display, you're going to see, for example, the time of day. To change the time of day, it says set clock. It's the same button as the down arrow. Press and hold that in, and what you'll see is your time of day will start blinking, starting with your hours. See it's flashing. Go ahead and just hit the up or down arrow. When you're done with the hours, hit next. Your minutes will flash. Go ahead and hit your up or down arrow. To save it, just hit next. Now that if you hit next again, it shows you your gallons capacity remaining. So based on your hardness and your capacity programmed, you can see your capacity remaining. If you hit next again, it shows you A and 0.0 gallons per minute. This is where you will see which tank is online. Your A tank will always be your tank with the main controller on it. Your B tank will be the tank with the second tank adapter, so no controller. This is nice so that way when you know when you're regenerating things or if you're trying to monitor the difference between one tank and the next, this is where you go to identify which tank is on or offline. Hit next again, and it says 0 gallons. This is ultimately your totalizer. So as you use water, this number is going to continually count up. And it's going to continually count up on each tank. No matter after regeneration, it's not going to reset. The only way to reset this is to do a master reset. Go ahead and hit next, and you're back to your time of day. So now that you've completed programming, the next step is going to be cycling the system through for the first time and firing the system up. To fire the system up, what you're going to want to start with is, first off, you're going to want to make sure your tanks are full of water. If you pre-filled them with water before putting the heads on, great. You're ahead of the curve right now. If you have not filled it with water, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to fill it relatively slowly by opening your inlet, but not all the way. Unlike most water softeners or single tank water softeners or softeners that have individual controls, when you open this inlet, you're feeding water to both your tank that would be in regeneration, but water is also going to your tank that's online. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to allow these to fill. When you hear water stop to the units, that means they're relatively full. They're each going to have some airhead in the tank. So what you're going to want to do is close your inlet back off. Okay? The reason you want to do that is we want to make sure when we send this through regeneration for the first time that we don't burp any of the media out of the tank. Okay? The best way to do that is purge that air off slowly. Now we've got a bunch of pressurized water and air in this tank since the tanks are both full from opening that. So we close that off and we press and hold the regen button. You'll hear the motor start. You can release the button. What it's doing is it's moving because we did that pre-rinse. It's moving into pre-rinse. What that means is it's ultimately putting the tank, the B tank that was offline, into fast rinse. It's going to fast rinse it for 2 minutes and then move on to regenerating tank A. Now, right now we're ultimately bleeding off that pressure that we had when we opened this valve. So go ahead and open the valve slowly again. You're going to hear water start moving. Again, we're not going to be purging all the air out, but we'll maybe push a little bit more air out, get a little more water in these tanks. You can go ahead and just let it run a little bit. You'll hear water start spurting to the drain, and close your valve off again. Go ahead and press the regen button again, and what this will do is switch tanks. We're going to start the backwash process. Backwash is where we're going to be allowed to reverse the flow through the tank and push that remaining amount of air out of the tanks. Now we're going to have to go through this process twice as there are 2 tanks. So now it is in backwash. This is where it's going to be critical for you to open the valve slowly. And when you open it slowly, what you want to do is just open it a crack. You're going to hear water maybe start moving. You're going to maybe hear air start going to the drain. As that air goes to the drain, you're going to start seeing it mix with water. Keep an eye on it. Make sure you don't lose any resin. If you see resin, go ahead and just close the valve off. Allow it to settle for a minute or 2, and then again reopen it slowly. Once you've got solid water, you can go ahead and open it all the way. Make sure you got a good flow. Make sure things look good. And then you can go ahead and close it again. Step it through the cycles. To do that, you just press the regeneration button. As the motor shifts, you can't hit the button again until the number starts counting down. When it starts counting down, you can advance it again by pushing the button. So we're going to continue this process of cycling it through, again with the valve closed. All right, once you're done with fill, you hit the button again, now you're back in service. So now, because we want to do the second tank, go ahead and press and hold the regen button again. Because we don't need to push any more water in the fast rinse position to the other tank, we can go ahead and skip over this pre-rinse. And again, if you don't have a pre-rinse program, you're not going to have this. this cycle. But if you do have a pre-rinse, just cycle through it for startup. And now we're moving to backwash for valve A. Just like on valve B, we're going to want to make sure that we push that remaining amount of air out of the tank. Once it stops, it'll start counting down. Now we're counting down in backwash, so now you can go ahead and open up your inlet just slightly. Again, allowing the air to purge out slowly. When you get solid water to the drain, or pretty solid water to the drain, no resin, go ahead and slowly open this all the way. Once your valve is open all the way, just confirm that everything looks good to the drain. At this point, you can go ahead and leave your inlet open. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cycle it through, and we're just going to make sure that all of our cycles are working properly. So first off, we're in backwash, everything looks good, no resin to the drain, air has been purged out. We're going to hit the regen button. We're going to move into brine draw. This is where you're going to start sucking water out of your salt tank. Now if you have not put any water in your salt tank or salt in your salt tank, now would be a good time. Go ahead and you can fill that up with a garden hose or manually with a bucket. Usually to get it started, put in about 4 to 6 gallons of water, depending on the size unit. Again, we just want to make sure that we're able to draw brine out of the brine tank. You can also disconnect the brine line and make sure that you have a suction if you aren't noticing any water moving. Connections to the brine tank should be tight, so that way you don't draw any air. All right, so it's in brine draw, it's counting down. You've confirmed that it's drawing the brine from the brine tank, or you're creating a suction. Hit the regeneration button. You'll move to the second backwash. Again, just make sure that you haven't introduced any air into the system. It may spit and sputter if you did. Hit the regen button again. We're going to move into fast rinse. This is where you're going to be service positioned to the drain. If for any reason you want to test your hardness to the drain, now would be a good time to do that. Last cycle is refill. Go ahead and you can allow it to refill if you have not already put water in the brine tank. If you already have filled the brine tank and the water is over the grid, you can go ahead and step through this back into service. Now we usually recommend, due to the fact that you've had all the plumbing apart, you've manually put the heads on and touched things, we recommend that you use a little chlorine bleach, pour it in the brine tank. A little bit goes a long ways, but pour that in and regenerate both tanks. All resin comes from the factory pre-regenerated, so you should have soft water right out of the gates. However, we do recommend the sanitation if at all possible.